Twitch and Stitch podcast, episode 34. I am Marsha, also known as Very Little on Instagram and Ravelry. And we have a Ravelry group that you can feel free to join, and I'll put the link down below. A lot has happened in the last 4 weeks since my last real podcast. Scylla and I went on a retreat and we vlogged that as our last episode, so you can go back and check that out. I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback on that vlog, and also about the homesteading things that I've posted so far, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's gotten in contact with me and has said that they've been inspired, because I feel like inspiration is the reason that we do this and we watch podcasts. So thank you, everybody. I want to say thank you to all of our new subscribers and all of the previous subscribers. The subscribers have gone up exponentially in the last couple weeks, and I just want to say thank you, and I have noticed. And also I want to give a special thanks to my Patreons over on the Patreon page, and I'll put the link for that down below as well. I have been posting quite a few short videos there for the sweater knit along that's going on right now. It's the first sweater knit along, and also the first little news is out. If you have not received your copy and you're a Patreon, then just email me. My email is linked in on the Patreon page, and I'll send you your copy as well. So special thank you to all the patrons. So over the last few weeks, I have gotten a lot of knitting done. A lot of knitting done. And I completed an object at the knitting retreat, and since the knitting retreat, I've also completed a pair of socks. So I'm going to go straight into it because I have a lot to cover today, and there is actually some stash stuff I would like to share, because Syl and I stopped at some yarn stores on the way to the retreat, and I just wanted to show you what I purchased there and while at the retreat, as well as some gifts I've received in the mail recently. So the first thing I want to show you that I have completed is my lisle. Now this is actually, the lisle is actually a top, and it's supposed to be quite a bit shorter than this. And this was in my sensitive to sensitivity section because it was not wool, but it was 100% silk for the bottom part. I held the yarn double, which I was questioning at the time when I cast it on, and I thought maybe I should hold it single because then I would definitely have enough yarn for sure. But I held it double because I liked the fabric I was getting, and I liked that you couldn't see through it as easily. So I held it double, and of course I ran out of yarn. So I got the bottom portion done, and then I started doubting that I would have enough yarn left about here. So I went into the yarn store and I picked up some alpaca yarn, which I added a band of just alpaca here, and I also picked up a silk yarn, and I held the silk and alpaca together, and just to make it look like I did it on purpose, the colors match really well. Let's see if we can see that there. And the alpaca stripe here just gives it that little bit of separation. Just need to weave that end in a little bit. And I also, because the silk and alpaca don't have very much structure, the weight of the whole thing pulled it down when it came to around the neckline and the armholes. So that added a lot of weight to this, which gave it a lot of stretch, which over a day would have made it so that it just was way longer than it should be. So what I did is I did a crocheted edge, and it's a reverse crocheted edge. I mentioned previously that I was a crocheter before I was a knitter, and this edge doesn't, it's a finishing edge, so it doesn't have anywhere for you to pick up stitches for doing another row of crochet. It's a reverse crochet stitch. So, and how you do that stitch is, if you're a crocheter, you know that you put your hook in there's 2 stitches, and you wrap your yarn around and you pull it through, and then you wrap your yarn around and you pull it through again. This is the exact same thing, but instead of going right to left, you go from left to right. So instead of creating those V's on the top going that way, it creates a loop over and gives it a really nice finished edge. It gives it more structure, and now it doesn't pull apart. So I'm really happy with it. It fits me really, really well. It used a lot of yarn, and I made it quite a bit longer than it was supposed to be. This here is where the sleeve holes were supposed to start. So I added this much extra before I started doing the decreases for the sleeve. Now the yarn I used for this is how much yarn I have left over. So the pattern's a little worse for wear. It's the Liesel right there. And it is by Julie Weisenberger. So I always make a copy of my patterns because I write all over them, so just to keep them looking nice. Now the alpaca is the Ultra Alpaca Fine by Barocco, and so that's that one. And the silk is the Maharashtra silk, and that's that one. And I can't find the tag for this silk one, so it's 100% silk though. If I find it, if I find the tag for this, I'll put it in the notes below. So that is that completed. I'm really happy with it, and it's great for the weather around here right now. The next thing I have completed is the Cobblestone socks by Mina Phillip. I did a test knit for her, and I didn't do the full length that she does in the pattern. I just made them ankle socks. She just wanted me to test the heel, so I just cast on and did a few rows of the pattern leading into the heel so I could see how the pattern fit in with the heel. The heel is amazing. It's Mina's own pattern, and the pattern is super simple to follow, so it gives it a really nice texture, and it's very intuitive. Once you get a few rows done, you understand what it's doing. I made an alteration on the toe just because Mina's toe actually is a little bit longer than the one that I use, and this is perfect for my foot, which I already know, so I just changed that. She only needed me to knit the heel anyway, so it didn't make any difference to her if I did my own toe. Okay, and the yarn for this is Wisdom Yarns Wool Free Naked Sock, and it's 93% acrylic, 7% PBT. Now, this being acrylic yarn, I just want to talk about the yarn for a second. If my hands were dry, it was fine to work with. The second it got recently it got very warm here, and it was 39 degrees Celsius, which is 102.2 in Fahrenheit. It was sweltering. My hands were sweaty, and this yarn was squeaky. It was harder to take off the needles. It was sticking on the needles, and I used the high sharp, so they're very slippery. And it was sticking to my hands in a really weird way, so I felt like I kept having to wash my hands. The yarn is soft, and it did turn out really nicely. Like there's a cool little kind of zigzaggy kind of pooling going on there, which I like. I don't mind pooling at all. And the yarn is serviceable. It wasn't my favorite yarn to knit with though, because of the sticky nature of it. I also wanted to mention I was working on these at the retreat, and somebody asked me what the yarn was, and I told her what it was, and I got to experience some yarn snobbery, which was very, very interesting. And I ended actually putting these away for the rest of the retreat, and I'm a pretty strong personality, and I didn't even realize that I'd done that, but it just wasn't a conversation I wanted to have, which is really too bad, because it shouldn't be that way, you know? So, yeah, so that's that. They look very nice. They fit me really well. The pattern was very intuitive, very easy to follow. The heel is amazing. So if you haven't gotten Mina's cobblestone sock pattern, there's a set of 4 patterns that you can get together. I definitely recommend her patterns. They're laid out very nicely. Her instructions are very clear. And yeah, and it's just enough interest to keep you interested. And also I wanted a pair of socks that had pattern down the foot. I saw quite a few at the retreat that I thought were really lovely because I just go to vanilla usually. But yeah, so I really like those. I haven't blocked them yet. I will be blocking them shortly, so they currently have their pants down, but those are done. What I'm working on, well, I'm so glad you asked because I'm working on all the things. What you can't see is I have around me in like a, it's probably 2.5 foot radius the whole way around me is projects that I've been working on. So the first one I want to talk to you about is the Don't Touch Those Leaves Summer Lacy Socks by Debbie Reese. Let's do that so you can see. And this pattern, I'm doing a test knit for her, so I'm not going to show you the pattern, but I am knitting these socks in the Cyborgs Craft room, and it's on her Asokalite base, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, in the red giant colorway. So the Cyborgs Craft room. If you don't like pooling, this is the yarn for you. It might not be your color, but this was given to me as a gift by the lovely Yarnder Woman, who is Melinda, but she has the Yarnder Woman podcast, and she is very, very lovely lady, and she and I have been friends since internet friends since before we both started podcasting, which is really cool. And so the Don't Touch the Leaves, I did a shorter leg on these ones as well because they're going to be more like spring socks for me. This yarn is not pooling at all. The pattern, I might have chosen, the yarn might be a little bit busy for this pattern, but I can still see the pattern in it. And it's starting to get intuitive for me. I usually just continue following along the pattern just to make sure. And the heel is not a heel that I have ever done before. The construction of it is super cool. So I'll show you the bottom there. It like pulls in a little bit because my stitches are so tight, but I think that the look of that heel is really cool. I've never done that before, and I'm really impressed with the pattern. It is written very well. This pattern's going to be coming out on June 15th, so in about a week. Not even. What day is today? The 9th. So it's going to be coming out in less than a week, so 6 days. So you can look for this pattern next week when it comes out, and I definitely recommend this pattern. Her lacy bits are they're very neat, and there's a certain kind of yarn over that she does in this pattern that I've never done before, and I thought it was really cool. And what I did is, because there's an option to do a regular yarn over or this special yarn over, and on one of the socks, on one of the yarn overs, I tried a regular yarn over versus the special one, and I ended up getting, because the special one pulls it tighter than a regular yarn over. So I'll show you here. Show you right there. So I don't know if you can tell here. It's kind of a weird angle for me to show you. Okay. So right there, that is a regular yarn over. I don't know if you can tell. Now where'd it go? There it is. Okay, that's a regular yarn over there. And then this is the special yarn over there. So regular, special, regular, special. So the regular one actually gives you a much bigger hole than the special one, and it doesn't look as even as doing the special one. So if you're going to do it, I recommend that you take the time to do the special yarn over, and just watch your knitting when you're knitting those stitches, that you turn the stitch before you knit it. But it's very simple. It's not a difficult thing to do, and every time I learn something new, my brain goes, my gray matter just sighs. So super enjoying those. I definitely recommend them. I'm hoping to have them done by the end of this week, and they are in a brand new bag, which is Lowland Originals. Renee sent it to me, and she made this bag for me special, and it's all my favorite colors, and it's got polka dots, which makes me super happy. And her bags are some of my absolute favorites. They have a nice structure to them. They're well made. They have a nice little pull. The zipper doesn't stick. It's top stitched, which I really appreciate. It's top stitched on the inside and the outside, and when you top stitch the inside, it just helps to keep the inside fabric from getting caught in the zipper, which is super nice. And that's and I love this, like, it's the end of the fabric, and this is one of my favorite parts. I love that that's there. Like, that just, I don't know why it makes me so happy. Every time I look at this bag and I see that, I'm just like, oh, I love it. And it's little pieces of fabric that have been put together, and Renee is so lovely. And if you want to get one of her bags, you can go to Lowlands Originals and on Etsy, and let me see if I have her card here. Lowlands, there we go. lowlandoriginals.etsy.com. She made a little card, and she gave me a few other cute little things, which are really cool. As well, on these, I have some new stitch markers that were given to me by Carla, who is Knit Knix, at the knitting retreat. She gave Scylla and I each a set of these, and they are by Prairie Dye Studio, who is Prairie Dye Studio on Instagram and on Etsy. And these are 12 snagless stitch markers, size small, and these are in rose quartz. And let me tell you, I love them. I really, oh, can you see them? I really love them. They're smooth. There's nothing for your yarn to snag on, and they are just fantastic. They stay where they're supposed to. I don't get yarn jumping over them. And I really enjoy them. So if you want a set of those, then you can just go to her Etsy shop and order them. They are, these ones were $12 Canadian, which is less than that all over the rest of the world. So they're just beautiful, and they're pink, so that makes my heart happy too, and they match my bag. So those are, that's that. I have an old work in progress that I finished previously, and you will remember it, and I blocked it. I knit this when I was in Japan, and it cost me about $4 for the yarn. I bought it in a restaurant. See, I still have some ends to weave in from what I've just done, and I'll show you in a second. I was in a restaurant in Japan, and they were selling some, I think it was like de-stashed yarn. So I went over and I got four balls. Four balls. And what happened is, when I blocked this out, the neck stretched. It stretched so bad that I could not even wear it. And I'm not done yet fixing this, but I just want to show you the difference. So what I learned at the retreat is that if a sweater or a top is sliding off your shoulders, all you need to do is crochet from here all the way across your neck to there, and it will bring it in, and it will sit properly. And immediately thought of this. And also I learned that if a pattern calls for you to cast off your neck stitches, cast them off, because there's a reason. It gives structure to the back of your neck, and it will keep your garments from sliding down, which I didn't know. And I have a couple sweaters that were sliding down and I didn't know why, and it was because the pattern had called for those stitches to be cast off, and I thought I'd be brilliant so that I wouldn't have to pick them up after and leave them on some needles or waste yarn and then pick them up that way and not cast them off. The casting off gives it the structure, so if a pattern calls for that, just do it, because you will not regret it. Now this is, okay. So I started with, on this, I started with just crocheting in the back, and then it was still a little bit along the shoulders, it was still a little bit too droopy. So I crocheted in along the back, and then I crocheted around the edge just to give the edge some more structure. And on one side of the shoulder I've crocheted along there to give it more structure. And then on the other side, I haven't done it yet because I just want to show you what that looks like. And Scylla was in the episode where I showed this on and where it didn't fit properly. And so now it fits. It has the structure back there that it needs. This side needs the crocheting, and it will bring it up just a little bit. And this side has the crocheting, so that's, yeah, it's hard to tell the difference on screen, but I can feel the difference. I can feel that it's up there, and then this side doesn't have that extra structure back there. So I'll be adding that in, and I'm so happy that it's finally going to fit me the way I want it to. It probably could even come up a little bit higher. I could even add a crocheted on the inside of the front of this part, and that'll bring it up even a little bit higher. I'm not very fussy about that, but you can see that this side needs to come up. So this I just made up as I went along on the train and the plane, and it has short rows in the back, and it has just a ribbing around here to give it body shaping instead of doing any decreases. I just kept it straight and put a ribbing in there. And yeah, so I still love it. I gave it to Scylla, now I've taken it back. No, I haven't taken it back, but she really likes it now too, that it's going to fit better. So really happy about that. One of the classes I took at the retreat was Knit Till It Fits. So I learned a lot in Knit Till It Fits. And one of the things I learned is you can make a sweater with triangles. So in the class, we were told to cast on a certain amount of stitches and to knit till we got this many stitches. And I decided that I was just going to just make a sweater right off the bat. So I cast on the amount of stitches we needed to cast on, and then I started knitting, and I did all of the increases, and I caught up to the class, and then now I'm ready to do the next section. So I just have to draw out how the triangles are going to fit into each other. But this way you can knit and you don't have to have gauge, because the triangles are what give it structure, and how you attach the triangles also give it structure. So it's not going to stretch way out of control. Oh, just hang on a second. There. That's my sweater so far. So looks pretty lovely, I'd say. And this yarn is Luxury Collection Mulberry Merino. It's a single ply, and it's colorway 100. It's 50% merino wool, 50% mulberry silk. See? And we talked about this in class. So if you go like this, oh, it's not balanced today, but in the class it was. So if you go like this with a yarn and it twists, that means it's not balanced. That will give you a biased yarn. But if you do that and it doesn't twist, then it's balanced. Let's try this one. Yeah, it's got some bias. Look at that. Well, it didn't do that in my class. But yes, so that yarn will have a bias. So when you're knitting in triangles like this, it doesn't really matter if it has a bias because you're knitting back and forth. So there's purl bumps, which help get rid of the bias. And also it's in sections, so it won't spin one way. So a bias is the direction the yarn wants to go. So if you knit in a circle and something has a bias to it, so if your yarn has a bias to it and you're knitting in a circle, it's going to bias in a direction. So that's what gives you, like, I don't know if you've ever bought a t-shirt and after you've washed it once, it like the seams, instead of going straight down, start twisting around your body in a funny angle, and it's just not comfortable and you're always pulling on your garments to straighten out those seams. That's a bias. So when fabric is cut on fabric has a bias, like a t-shirt, it'll do that. When a sweater has a bias and you knit it in a circle, it's going to automatically start twisting in the direction of the bias. So you can end up with a seam that wants to travel across your stomach, and then you'll end up like constantly adjusting and readjusting your clothes. So that is that, and I've cast on for the next piece. I don't even remember. I think I'm doing a parallelogram for this one, but I have my notes somewhere. And so I'm doing it in these two colors. And I don't even know if it's something that I'll finish or if I'll just rip it out. It was just for the class and I learned a lot, so I'm not fussed whether that gets finished or not, so I haven't been working on it since the class. Now the next thing I've been working on is, I've gotten some done on my scrappy sock blanket. I have it in a project bag, but I wanted to keep the yarn that I'm knitting with and my blanket separate from the yarn that I have knit with or the yarn that I haven't knit with. So this is where I am right now. I'm on my third row. I find this is really great camping knitting. It doesn't smell like camping, it did, but this is really great camping knitting because it's just easy to knit in the trailer, and when it's a rainy day or snowy day, it snowed while we were out there, and just knit on it. So that's how far I am. This is from the mittens that I just knit, and I'm getting into some of the, this one's from Mina. So I'm getting into some of the yarns from Mina, and this yarn was given to me by Scylla, from Scylla. At Christmas time she got me a advent calendar and of yarn, and I've been just working with that yarn as well. I just started like on this blanket. I had them still all wrapped up because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with them. So now that's being worked on. It can't be folded up yet, really. It's just a scarf at this point. But it's the width I want it to be, and I'm just gonna knit the length now. The thing I'm working on is, I took a Start With an Idea class, and the instructor Paulette is amazing. And what I started knitting was a cardigan, and I'm knitting it out of Knit Picks Hawthorne Sport in the Fremont colorway, and you can still get this on the line. And this is, it is specifically to my body measurements, which is cool. I learned so much in that class and I am pumped. And this is the pattern in the cardigan, and it is so much fun to knit. I haven't knit on it very much since I got home, because I've been working on socks and getting those test knits done. But I can't wait to get back to this because it is coming out so nicely. So there's no pattern for you to look at because it's just a scroll and a picture and measurements on a page that I'm doing. But it's coming out really nicely. It's not, like, it doesn't look like it's really pooly or anything, so that's good. And yeah, I'm enjoying knitting with the yarn. I wanted a sport weight cardigan and now I'm going to have one. So I can't wait till that's complete. So I have a few sweaters on the needles right now. So that's 2 that I've shown you that I have on the needles. This is my 3rd sweater on the needles, and it is the Blackberry Cardigan by Alexandra Charlotte Defoe. Charlotte Defoe. And I started writing on my patterns what day I cast them on and what time, because I like to keep track of how long things take me to knit, and it is full of cables. So there are a couple different charts that I'm following. I have to be switched on to knit this because there's so much going on in it and switching back and forth, and it's not intuitive for me yet. So I knit about here and checked my gauge, and I'd done a swatch. I do believe I'd done a swatch. I could be wrong. I usually don't swatch. So when I first started, I measured what my gauge was, and so I was like, it'll be close. By the time I knit it out and I got to the first, where the first diagonal crosses, I measured it, and it was about 2.5 inches larger than my size. So I had to go down a needle size to get gauge. And that is like, that's pre-blocking for me, and I know this yarn is going to grow because I've knit with it before. This is the McCausland Woolen Mill yarn, and I know it's going to grow, so I'm knitting a smaller size with anticipation that it's going to grow. Don't do that. Just swatch and do it properly. Don't listen to me. Because this is totally if it doesn't fit, I'll give it as a gift to somebody. But it's really a crapshoot. Like, I don't know. I'm assuming it's going to fit. And I know a lot of people like to play yarn chicken like that too. And it's so sheepy. It's very rustic yarn. And it's going to be really nice as a layering piece, I feel like. So, and it's red, and I wanted a red cardigan, so that's good. Another thing I have been working on, see, I've been working on so many things, is a blanket that I started last year, and it is getting quite large. You can't even see the whole thing. Whew. So this yarn was given to me as a gift a few years ago from my dad, and so I put it away because it gets heavy to knit. But I started here a couple days ago, or last week I started here, so I've knit that much. It takes me about, I want to say 10 minutes a row or something like that, 10 or 20 minutes a row. So it's slow going. There's a lot of stitches on the needles. It doesn't even, like, it's not even stretched out as far as it needs to go, so that you can see how big it is. Quite a few stitches on here. And I'm just knitting back and forth, but I'm using the dark brown and knitting. So I knit a row and I purl back on just that section, so it gives a little bit of definition between the colors, and I just keep using that color as my separating color, and it's coming out quite nicely. And I don't have a plan for the rows. I'm just throwing them in willy-nilly. This one I think is going to be a wider row followed by some shorter ones, but I'm trying to make sure that the same colors don't always follow each other, so there's more separation between the colors. So that's coming along. And that yarn is it's the Tumphy, Berlini Tumphy, and it's made in Italy. And it is 50% wool and 50% high bulk acrylic, and it is hand wash only, so it's not something you want to throw in the washing machine, but it's going to be warm. How do you like it? I was thinking I could just cast it off and it could just be this massive wrap. Or I could put sleeves in it and turn it into, there we go. Isn't that cozy? Put sleeves in it and then turn it into a big sweater. Then I'd be almost done. Oh my. Yeah, that does look pretty good though. Just attach it down here and then there you go. Got myself a top. Alright. Gotta make sure that my stitches don't fall off my needles. The final thing I've been working on is a new design, and I got some yarn at the retreat and on the way to the retreat. So on the way I got this handmade in Casbah, 81% merino, 9% cashmere, 10% nylon in the amethyst colorway, and Riverstone yarns, and this is the Stars Over Sorrento colorway. So this is the Casbah, and this is the Stars Over Sorrento in the Riverstone yarns. Now the Riverstone yarns actually has a higher, see, yarn down. Riverstone yarns is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon, and the Casbah is 81% merino, 9% cashmere, and 10% nylon. So this one has a higher cashmere content than the Casbah, but together they are brilliant. And what I have learned, this is my new design, so I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but there is brioche in it, because I wanted both colors to work together, and I learned brioche in the last 2 weeks, and I love it. It is so fun to knit. It is not difficult at all. It's very, very intuitive once you get going. I don't need to look at a pattern or anything for it. So it's coming along really nicely, and I love working with both of these yarns, the Casbah and the Riverstone. They're both very luxurious. They're going to be beautiful next to my skin, and they're just yummy, yummy, yummy. So yeah, I definitely recommend both of these yarns because they are just, look at those together. Huh? Little fur. Yeah, they look amazing together. So I'm really excited for that. I'm working on it. I'm making notes as I go. The hardest part for me when I do a pattern is actually typing it up. It takes me so long to just get to a computer and type it up. My computer is so old it won't even play YouTube videos anymore. It's the update, the last update it had is 2 updates before the last one that's available online. So it's really old and really not updated. So so I can't watch YouTube videos or anything on it. So I just abscond Syl's iPad and put my patterns in there. But it's definitely the thing I struggle with the most. I have a bunch of patterns that I just have to type up and get test knit. I have, I think, about 5 that I just need to type up and then get test knit, and then I can put them out there, but I just can't sit down and do it. Like, putting myself out there that way, I think, makes me extremely nervous. So it's just something I just personally need to work on. It's the same thing that's happening with my my knitting bags that I made. I haven't opened my shop yet, but I'm going to open it next week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do kind of a soft opening and put whatever I have made into it as I get it made. That way it's not so much pressure to have it done in like at a date, and so I'm just going to, it's going to be very little on Etsy, and I think that it will actually open next Friday, but I'm not sure what time, and I will just be putting things in there as they are complete. I purchased some more fabrics that I think are going to be really lovely, and actually I've started working out again and strengthening my back. It takes about a month of weight training to get my back to the point where it's not causing me pain anymore, but I have to get over that month hump, and then it's good. But I've been so remiss over the last year about strengthening my back that sitting at a machine it's definitely hard work. So I have a little bit of stash that I will show you. So at the retreat, my friend Shannon from the Socksetcher podcast and I did a little bag swap. And these are the bags that she gave me. Socksetcher. If you want to know about her bags, Scylla did an amazing review on our last episode. At the very end, it's like an infomercial for Shannon's bags. They are extremely well made, and I have to say, this one, the last day of the retreat, I had my work that I was working on in this one, and Shannon came and sat beside me, and I had my coffee cup on the arm of the chair, which as I put it on the arm of the chair, I thought, this is a horrible idea. I should not do this. Shannon came, she put her stuff down, boom, I elbowed it, coffee everywhere, all over two of my bags, these two. So I've washed them and they came out beautifully. I just need to iron it. Like, that's not, and this one too, this is Terry's bags, but Bags by Terry is that one, but it did not come wrinkly. I just need to point that out. It's just that I've thrown it in the washing machine. It has been washed and it came out lovely. So I have those two lovely, beautiful bags that are going to have projects put in them right away. I also have this beautiful bag. I have a bag from H Cats Crafts, and that is what my sweater is in. It is a massive bag, and it has campers all over it. Isn't that fun? Look how big this is. This bag could carry 2 sweaters in it probably. Well, actually, let me show you what's in here. There's like 7 skeins of yarn and a book. Like, this bag has everything in it, so it's fantastic and I love it. It also came with this, and what this is, it's a frame cover for if you do cross stitch or embroidery. It goes around the frame to keep dust off of the area around the frame, because sometimes that area it kind of attracts dust and dirt, and so you just put this over the edge, and then it just keeps the edging of your work nice and clean. So that's very cool, and it's in the same fabric, so that's beautiful. Another thing that I received by Jody, all of the crinkling. Jody from the Grocery Girls had a little update, and these were put in after her update, but it is a special bee bag, which I love, and it's got a little bee stitch marker and a little B&B, like, beehive progress keeper zipper pull, and a beautiful fabric inside. I actually have this fabric which is super cool because I think it's beautiful. I love it. And a little candy, her card, Mrs. Brown's bags, in case you're wondering, and this Bee Splat colorway by Vivid Yarn Studios. So I'm super excited about that, and it has stellina in it, a silver stellina. It's so pretty, and I can't wait to cast that on. And look at those speckles. Speckle, speckle. I really am loving yellow and pink right now. So There's going to be a lot of yellow and pink in my life, I feel like. So isn't that adorable? I love it. So that is something new. I forgot one work in progress. So with my patrons, I am doing a first sweater knit along. And this is the sweater I'm doing. It's called the Flax by Tin Can Knits. And it's a free pattern on Ravelry, so you can go and get it. I've got all my notes on here. It's a top-down construction sweater, and it is very detailed. Very, very detailed. So it's the perfect sweater for a first-time sweater. It was not my first sweater that I ever knit. My first sweater was an Icelandic colorwork sweater, which is just silly, but that's what I did. But I did a swatch for it, which I knit in the round, and I cast on. This yarn is its worsted weight, and it is Isis Fiber Arts. And she's local to me, www.isisfiberarts.com. Just checking if it's a com or a C8. It's a com. It's 100% superwash merino. And it is, she dyed this color specifically for me. And I'm actually going to talk to her about, we kind of talked a little bit. It's not quite, it's coming out a little bit more purple than it actually is. It's more of a blue. That's better. But doing an interview with her to show you her shop and that sort of thing, I'm going to talk to her about that. Totally putting her on the spot right now, but I'll text her. But I think that would be really cool to just go and sit down with her and do a cool little interview on her techniques and dyeing. So I have gone through some of my stash enhancements as we go. I have also a Hint of Spring from Smith & U. Look at that color. So pretty. And it's 437 yards, so that is a very good size yarn skein. It's fingering sock weight, 80% merino, 20% nylon. I don't think these are going to be socks. I tend to think when it has white that its life is not going to be on my feet, but somewhere closer to here. So I'm looking forward to finding something for that. This is another Riverstone yarn, and this is her lace weight. And this is the Stars Over Sorrento colorway as well. 80% merino, 20% silk. So this is 880 yards. Look at that. 880 yards. And it was $30 Canadian. It's amazing. Amazing, amazing. So I'm very excited about that. You might notice something going on here. This is Marianne's Sparkle, which is also Smith & U, and it is 420 yards, and this is merino wool and stellina blend, so 84% merino and 16% stellina nylon blend. So it's got the sparkle in it. You can see it's silver sparkle. And it's so pretty. Look at in there, some red and purple. So that one, it's gorgeous. And this one actually might end up being socks because it's sparkly and I don't have any sparkle socks. And the last, well, these next two things are by Sea Turtle Fiber Arts. And this is the Ridley sock, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 420 yards in the Rainbow Bright colorway. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at that, look at that, look at that. So bright and beautiful and amazing, amazing. Let's see the color coming through. And of course, I'm an 80s child, so rainbow braids totally up my alley. And it's Sea Turtle Fiber Arts. There's our little logo. And this is Ridley sock, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. There's 600 yards in here, and it's called Easter eggs. Aren't those amazing? I'm so excited about those. Like, you have no idea. They're so bright. They're so happy. So happy. And yeah, I'm really excited about casting those on as well. Such bright colors. And those I got at the Twisted Pearl in Armstrong, BC. I'll show you that. And they're on the line as well at www.thetwistedpearlyarnstudio.com, and they're on Facebook as well. Got all of their stuff back there. And they also donated bags to the retreat, so everybody got a bag. Mine's a little bit dirty because it was in the car. But yes, nice little bags. And they have yarn pulls, which is super fun. I love it, I love it. There. So, yeah, they're super fun. So they had pink and white of those. That's it for the, oh, no, wait a second. Okay, I also got this bag from a sock knitting mama. And she also sent a little stitch marker, some cherries, a little skein of yarn, Unique Sheep Looks in Lusty Pink, and this little Knitting in France Autumn. So those are definitely going to, this one for sure is going into my blanket. And I ordered this for my oldest, is very into Harry Potter, and she just actually had surgery yesterday. And I want to say thank you to everybody who wished her well and was sending good thoughts and prayers, because I was a nervous wreck the day before, and she kept telling me how nervous she was, and I was like, it's going to be fine, and doing the mummy thing. She's actually right here laying down. But so I got this with her in mind because she just adores Harry Potter. She's read the books probably 7 times since last summer. She started reading them. The first one she read last June, and she's read the whole series probably 7 or 8 times since then. She just loves it. So I picked this up for her, and she put all of her things for her hospital stay in here, and her books and that sort of thing, and she just loves it. And the last thing, this was a gift from my sister, and it is from Peggy May Yarns. She does a like little kits, and this was her Anne of Green Gables kit. And so this is the Anne of Green Gables yarn, and when I saw it I was like, that is totally Anne of Green Gables yarn, because she was called Carrots, and PI is green, and this is kind of reminds me of the color of her dress when she first goes to Matthew and Marilla's, and it's one of my favorite all-time books, so I love that. And I actually just got it on audiobook, and it came with these cool little stitch markers. There's a book and a tree, because Anne is all about the trees, and a little bonnet, which I thought was so sweet, and then this little bag of candy treats. So that is super exciting. Yes. So that's it for the knitting portion. So we do have a couple cows coming up. The first one I want to talk about is the Canadian Knit Along, which is coming up July 1st. So next month it's coming up, and I'm really excited about that. I'm going to be knitting a maple leaf shawl out of some Sweet Georgia yarn, and you'll be seeing it a lot, so I didn't bring it to show you right now. And there's going to be rules. A rule thread is going to be coming up in the podcast group so that you can see it. The cast on date is July 1st and it goes to September 30th. And I already have some prizes trickling in for that. We have a coupon code from Yarn Friendly, who is Sally, and her coupon code is OCanada10, and the coupon code is good from now till September 30th, and she has some great Canadian themed bags, which is super cool. And her Etsy shop is www.etsy.com/shop/yarnfriendly. And I also have a yarn prize has been donated from Bootsy, who is Carolyn, and she has an Etsy shop, and it is To Knit and Crochet on Etsy. So it's YouTube, and she has a YouTube channel as well for her podcast, and I'll link that below as well. We have some unclaimed prizes from episode 32. So if you have entered in, if you entered in the Narita Express knit along, or if you have entered in the double dip cowl, then you need to go and take a look at episode 32, because we have quite a few prizes that have not been claimed, and I would like to ship those out as soon as possible. The cutoff for that is the end of June, so if you haven't claimed your prize by the end of June, then I will be putting it back into the prize giveaway, probably for the Canadian cowl. So if you could just take a look through there, I have some yarn that hasn't been claimed, and I also have some patterns that haven't been claimed. So if you could go and watch episode 32, find out if you are one of the lucky winners, and then contact me and I will get those out to you as quickly as possible. My oldest is doing great. She's a lot better. We went camping a couple weeks ago for May long weekend, and we went way out in the boonies, and my younger daughter had an allergic reaction, and her eyes were swelling and her lips swelled up, and we had 2 nurses with us, which was amazing, and she ended up having to take 2 different kinds of allergy medicines, and she's fine now. I'm going to be taking her to the allergist to get tested. And then my oldest just had a minor surgery. It's very straightforward, and but I was just nervous because none of my kids have ever had to go for anything like that, and so I spent the day yesterday in the hospital with her. The Canadian medical system is awesome. Brought her in, didn't have to fill out any forms or anything. They have all the information online. They just confirm everything and then take her in for her procedure, and after it was over, she hung out in the hospital for a little while until she could talk and eat and sit up, and then we came home, and we'll never be billed for it, so that's awesome. And the weather here has been crazy hot. So a couple of days ago it was 39 degrees Celsius. This is very normal for our area, so that's 102.2 Fahrenheit, but that is a summer temperature. We're still kind of in spring, so we're usually around 36 degrees, and I think that's what it is today, Celsius, about 36, and it goes into the mid-40s in the summer here. We are in kind of a desert region, so we have black widow spiders and we have rattlesnakes, etc. The black widows are everywhere, but the rattlesnakes tend to stay in kind of the cliff areas and out of town. But it's definitely warming up. We took the kids to the lake already this year to go for a swim, and we had a picnic, which was awesome. This week I've been painting a room. We have a friend moving in this week, which is really cool. And I don't usually tend to talk about my kids on the podcast, and it's going to remain that way. I just wanted to touch base because there's been a couple things that, you know, have come up that were like kind of big for me, and I might talk about them more in the Patreon area. And the only reason there's a difference in that way is that with YouTube I don't see who's seeing the information or watching, and it's just because I just don't want that in the general world, I guess, which is fine. Everybody chooses different. And as for urban homesteading, it is strawberry season. We are picking strawberries every day. They are ripe every single day, and what we're doing is picking them and washing them and freezing them so that we can add the strawberries to smoothies during the winter and autumn when we don't have strawberries. So that's what's happening right now, and I'll take you on a little tour of the strawberry patch. We have strawberries in the backyard and in the thank everybody who has given me positive feedback about the urban homesteading part. With it being so hot right now, our watering is on a drip irrigation system, and it's set up to go like as close to the roots of the plants as possible, and the watering time is when it is cooler so that it doesn't evaporate, which is better for the environment and better for the fruits and vegetables that we grow. And yeah, and just the people who've contacted me and who have been inspired to maybe plant a garden, or maybe grow some more different things, or even started some potted plants inside for seasonings and that sort of thing. I really enjoy that. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you for subscribing, and if you don't know how to subscribe, just down below there's a subscribe button, and you just click on that, and whenever I upload an episode you will be notified, and which is a good idea, because coming into summer I might podcast more often or less often. It just depends. I'm trying to keep it consistent, but sometimes I have a lot of content, so I might need to split it up and do more episodes, just so that so many episodes aren't so heavy. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day, and see you in 2 weeks. Until next time.